Welcome to Medically Assisted CBD with Charlie Pimarini. Hey everyone, and welcome back to Restorative CBD. It's been a little while since we published our last podcast, but took a little hiatus and we're back. So one of the biggest questions that I get in practice every day is, how does CBD actually work and what does it work on? The first thing I want to tackle is CBD and inflammation. So to better understand this, we got to understand what actually is inflammation. So it's a buzzword right now, and everybody is trying to fight inflammation. But what are we fighting? So inflammation is when our immune system and our body overreacts, and it thinks that what is going on is a foreign invader or an enemy within our body, and it mounts an immune system response, sending immune system cells, sending platelets, white blood cells, and increasing blood flow. So that's why if you've noticed that you have a lot of inflammation, you may notice that your joints hurt, they seem swollen, they seem red, they seem hot to the touch. That's all inflammation, kind of reminiscent of when you get a cut in your skin. The skin becomes red, becomes a little bit swollen, and it's a little bit of pain. And that is a very localized inflammation response. That's your body increasing blood flow to get more white blood cells and other immune system cells to this area to fight a possible infection or foreign invader. Then when more immune cells come, they actually recruit more immune cells, and it increases more blood flow. And also there are cell signals called cytokines that are released, and these cytokines signal more cells and actually signals sometimes pain. And that's why when you slice your finger, besides the fact of nerve pain, there's also inflammation pain. That's another warning sign that your body's telling you that something is wrong. When you get everyone knows when you get a splinter, you can feel this just deep burning pain. That's a lot of times inflammation and cytokines released from your body to notify you that something is going on. So that is what inflammation is. And now, if you expand that into our whole body, we are now there's now a term for chronic inflammation called meta-inflammation. And that is basically what scientists and the medical community has termed inflammation that's just chronic and throughout our body. Now, this is due to a lot of factors, but a lot of them are able to be amended, and those are through our diet, our lack of exercise, our alcohol intake, too much exercise, stress, but also genetics play a role in how we produce inflammation, how we respond to inflammation. So there's a genetic component to this, but it largely is based off of our exogenous or our activities or lack thereof that can cause this chronic or meta-inflammation. So our body is going about its day, heart's pumping, lungs are breathing, neurons are firing, and all throughout our body, our white blood cells are sampling throughout our body to make sure that we don't have an infection. And if it sees a foreign invader, it can mount an immune system response. Now, when you have chronic inflammation, your body is on guard, chronically on guard, always thinking that there is a war, a pending war within your body. And so it is mounting immune system responses probably in places that it shouldn't be. So if you've ever had, a weekend of eat kind of off your diet, you're not eating correctly, you're not sleeping correctly, you're not drinking your water, you're drinking, alcohol, eating a lot of sugar, you feel inflamed, your fingers feel inflamed. Your GI system is, a little bit off. You feel a little bit foggy brain. This is because chronic inflammation led by sugar intake, decrease in sleep, dehydration causes this chronic meta-inflammation. And one of the ways our body tries to combat this is through the endocannabinoid system, through the activation of this beautifully diverse and just overarching system called endocannabinoid system that we've touched upon in a couple of episodes. But it's something that we have just come to realize over the last 20 to 30 years. But what we have to realize is we've evolved with this system. It's been in place over 600 million years, they theorize. Every invertebrate besides insects have this endocannabinoid system to help protect us. And one of the protections that it protects against is inflammation, this chronic, just low level tone of our body thinking that there's something wrong when there isn't. So how do we keep, besides, we're not going to go into this, but besides diet, exercise, decreasing psychological stress, all these things, but how does CBD and the endocannabinoid system play into decreasing our inflammation and keeping us healthy? Well, as many people know, and as we've discussed, and we'll kind of touch upon it, but there are two endocannabinoid receptors, specifically the ones that are most studied. There's multiple, there's probably up to five, but the CB1 and the CB2 receptors are the ones that are most well known. The CB1 receptor is predominantly found in the nervous system and the brain and the peripheral nervous system. And then also the CB2 receptor is found on organs and white blood cells and immune cells. They theorize there's up to probably five. There is one that they're just researching now called CB3 that's more localized in acute injuries like a broken bone or an injury. Not a lot of research is out there about that. And the ones that we'll speak about mostly are the CB1 and CB2 receptors. So the location of the set receptors, as we always talk about, is you can backtrack and see the action. And so the endocannabinoid system main job is it modulates activity. In the nervous system, it's a beautiful example of in the endocannabinoid system in the nervous system, the CB1, when endocannabinoids are endogenous, endocannabinoids, we make molecules that are very reminiscent to THC and CBD. When they bind these receptors in the brain, it decreases nervous system signaling. So it tones it down. This is very reminiscent too in the CB2 receptors that are found in the immune system on cells in the periphery, that this works to decrease the cell signaling processes, to decrease the blood flow, to decrease the immune system activation, to kind of tone everything down, to turn the volume down on your system, to bring it back to baseline. You don't want to shut the system off. This is what consistently it's surveilling. It's always looking in your body to see if there's an infection from the food that we eat to the air that we breathe. We're always being bombarded by pathogens. So you need the system to be on the lookout. But when it's overactive chronically, this is where a lot of chronic diseases are coming from. And they're hypothesizing a lot of neurological diseases, cancers, diabetes is due to chronic low level inflammation or this meta inflammation. So when CBD or our endogenous anandamide or 2-AG are the molecules that we make, bind to these receptors on the nervous system and or on the white blood cells, it just tones it down. It brings down the activity, it decreases it, thus decreasing blood flow, decreasing pain. And that's kind of how the pain receptors within inflammation work. That's a whole nother separate chapter that we're going to talk about next month. But just wanted to bring up the fact that CBD and the endocannabinoid system modulates or decreases the activity. And it's the biggest overarching goal of the endocannabinoid system is homeostasis. That's the big buzzword within the CBD and cannabis world, is homeostasis, or finding a baseline against an outside stress. So the best example is a thermostat in your house. You set the thermostat to 75 degrees, and if the temperature falls above or below that, the thermostat kicks on to keep that temperature at that set point. Same thing within our body. Our body has a set point, is a conglomeration of all different organ systems that can contribute to this set point, right? You got your nervous system, cardiovascular system, your renal system, your lungs. Everything is working together to keep our blood pH at a certain level, to keep the carbon dioxide, all of our electrolytes. Everything is in a set range, and our body's working consistently, regardless of us, with the onslaught of alcohol and sugar and food and the lack of sleep and the air that we breathe. Our body's a machine consistently working to try and keep us at the set level. And the endocannabinoid system is what the main goal of the system is, to orchestrate all of this to keep us healthy and active. And when you are overstressed due to psychological, due to physiological, so lack of sleep, our diet, lack of exercise, too much exercise, increasing in sugar intake, this will put our system into stress. What I tell people is when they like to exercise, there is such a thing as too much exercise, because your body, we still haven't evolved to realize that that exercise is good, but too much of it, our body will be in a chronic state of stress. And then you have a whole bunch of hormones being released, stress hormones, cortisol, epinephrine, that then wreak havoc on our body, decrease insulin resistance, increase, your cravings for different foods, sugars, carbs, fatty foods. But the endocannabinoid system, irregardless of all the stress, is working to try and decrease all of this. And so how do you balance your endocannabinoid system? Well, the best way is to decrease your stress, but sometimes that is that's unavoidable due to work, due to family, due to marriage, due to whatever it may be, money issues. You're still having stress. So one good way is to mitigate stress, to meditate, to have a well-balanced diet, to decrease your sugar, to get good restful sleep, increase your water intake, decrease alcohol, all things that we know. But another way is to really, how do we supercharge our endocannabinoid system, is not only through omega-3. And so all of our endogenous or already self-made cannabinoids are reminiscent of the omega-3 backbone. So omega-3 is beneficial. You can take it in a pill, but most people get it through fish. Good oils like olive oil are great ways to supplement omega-3s to give your body the building blocks to make our own natural CBD, which is 2-AG, and anandamide, which is what our body makes, is really reminiscent of THC. These are two molecules that our body makes that are reminiscent of molecules within the cannabis plant. So we make anandamide, which is like THC, and we make 2-AG, which is just like CBD. So if you're giving your body's natural building blocks, it's able to create these things. And this is why supplementation with omega-3s is anti-inflammatory. One of the reasons is because it's supercharging your endocannabinoid system. And also then taking exogenous or outside products such as CBD, cannabis, or hemp. So taking CBD, the way it works, and we've gone over this in previous episodes, but briefly is it decreases the destruction of the natural cannabis products like that we make, 2-AG and anandamide, at the receptor site. So if you can imagine, we're making something called 2-AG, which is very reminiscent of CBD, and it's binding to the receptor on the white blood cells at the inflammation site or throughout your body. And when you take endogenous or outside CBD products, it's working to decrease our body's breaking down of that natural product to allow it to work longer, to get more, to decrease the inflammation. Same system as when we take it, and it works with decreasing seizures in our brain, as GW Pharmaceuticals found out with Epidiolex. It's very reminiscent throughout our whole body. And so this is just what we like to touch on is inflammation is chronic. And when it's chronic, it's called meta. And this is what we're fighting as Americans, and our diet and our lack of exercise and our increase in physiological or psychological stress. Your endocannabinoids tirelessly working to decrease this inflammation, to work with your body, to really bring it back to homeostasis. And so when you're stressing your body, you're stressing your endocannabinoid system. And the best way to supercharge your endocannabinoid system is to remove the source of stress. And if that's unavoidable, then it's to supercharge your endocannabinoid system through good quality CBD products, omega supplementation, decreasing sugar. These are all great ways to start supplementing and decreasing your inflammation. If you'd like to learn more, please go to our website at restorativecbd.com or check out our newly launched education series called the CBD Education Series.com, where you can find 2 courses, CBD 201 for the advanced learner and CBD 301 that we made for medical professionals to help them better educate their patients on how to take CBD. As always, we appreciate you guys listening. Please like and share our podcast, and we'll see you next time.